Hello porters, Kato Genesis here with a tips and tricks video for Death Stranding and Death Stranding Director's Cut. I greatly enjoy this game and had a 5-page script just sitting around for upwards of a year, so I might as well share my findings as well as a few new things in Director's Cut. I don't know about you, but I didn't read every single tutorial pop up the first time through or my fourth. So this video will go over some valuable tips that could have been overlooked and a few tricks that the game doesn't really tell you at all. Most of these apply to both versions of the game, but I'll be sure to mention it if it's just Director's Cut specific. So here are this many tips and tricks I wish I knew when I first began playing Death Stranding and Death Stranding Director's Cut. Discovering beached things, or BTs, will be stressful during your first few encounters. That's basically their whole deal. Your odor deck combined with BB's senses will help you detect BTs, and even make the ones nearby appear if you hold still. To know when you're getting too close to a BT, your odor deck will go from clicking to spinning. There's some things about BTs that aren't entirely apparent, like their umbilical cords. First, the cords are a simple way to more easily detect a BT when you're holding still. Second though, is that these cords are also tethers, and the BTs will only be able to move so far away before being pulled back to their starting position. If you manage to outrun a BT, it will eventually come to a stop and float back to where it came from. Thankfully, being caught by a BT isn't game over. This will instead spawn a large boss BT known as a catcher, and if you manage to defeat it, it will drop a ton of chiral crystals. Defeating or successfully fleeing from a catcher will also temporarily stop timefall and BTs in the area. If you get dragged and aren't prepared for a boss fight, you can attempt to escape by slogging and jumping through the tar-covered arena to its edge to disengage. When you are given your first delivery, you'll be loaded down with heavy cargo and shown the grip buttons to keep balance. This is for both dealing with rough terrain and keeping cargo vertical. If both grip buttons are held, your pace will decrease a little bit, but your stability will increase. I use this method for travel in most cases because it's an unfrustrating level of speed with, guaranteed stability, even if my index fingers get a little tired. If you're more active about keeping your balance, you can use the grip buttons instead to make adjustments as Sam starts slanting one direction to another, holding the grip that's opposite to where he's slanting, getting you that equilibrium back. And the reason for doing this would be to maintain the fastest possible speed without just going into a full sprint. The secret weapon of carrying heavy amounts of cargo is the crouch button. If Sam starts staggering and losing his balance, immediately hitting the crouch button will give you perfect stability at the cost of most of your movement. Some situations may call for even more precision. The first-person compass can help with this if you need to make a 180 without too much fuss, step onto a weirdly tilting ladder, and safely navigate steep cliffs. Check water depth with your odor deck scanner before you cross either on foot or in a trike. Red means you and your unstrapped cargo will be swept away, while yellow and blue are safe to cross. The game does tell you this early on, but doesn't tell you how many waterways can fool you into thinking that they're shallower than they actually are. If you decide to wade through water on foot, holding your grip buttons during most of that will slow your endurance drain. Keep in mind too that you can just stop while in the water to regain stamina, then keep trudging forth after it recovers. On a lesser note, water will also wash off tar and blood, but being covered in either doesn't particularly seem to have a negative effect. Auto-arrange cargo frequently. Sam's center of gravity can be dramatically improved if you're doing this often. An exception to this advice would be certain cargo runs that have specific transport requirements, such as the infamous pizza delivery missions that require it to stay flat. With things like that, you'll need to arrange your cargo in a more manual way, so the aforementioned pizza sits on the top of your pack rather than sideways. A truck can also keep pizza flat, as you would expect. The game shows the dangers of dead humans in its opening moments, and if Sam does kill a human, he'll need to dispose of the body at an incinerator to prevent a void out. The question is, what counts as lethal? Only weapons labeled lethal and repeated hits with vehicles can kill humans. Thankfully, this means you'll have to make a conscious effort to kill someone by bringing the proper gear for taking lives. Don't worry about drowning enemies either, all their suits have flotation devices, just like Sam's. Mules are the bandits of Death Stranding, and the first hostile humans you'll encounter. They'll attack you for your cargo, but for no other reason. Even if they manage to defeat you via knockout, they'll simply steal your cargo, sometimes your shoes, place it in their post boxes, and leave you outside their perimeter. Knowing that they're only after cargo, if you leave your cargo outside their perimeter sensor poles, you'll be able to sneak around unnoticed. Mule camps are a great place to harvest materials from their tents and post boxes too, and often have bulk amounts of one material type. For instance, some mule camps have tons of metals, while the next one over could have loads of ceramics, both of which are used in building roads. When you do get detected by a human enemy, it's nice to know what kind of options you have if you didn't bring a weapon. Weapons do take up space after all. There's several options for moves that, when timed correctly, can leave you unscathed. The strand is still something that's always available, but if multiple enemies are around, using the strand will leave you open to their attacks. Thankfully, there's several other melee options. First is your standard punch and kick combo, which is simply 3 button presses with your attack button. These can be empowered by certain gloves, but also if you're front facing, can be blocked by enemies. Next, you have the dodge, which is done by holding both grip buttons and pressing jump. This one, of course, allows you to avoid melee strikes when timed right, and leaves the enemy open to a follow-up attack. Third of the basic moves is the tackle, used to knock your enemy off balance. This is also performed by holding both grip buttons, but pressing attack instead of jump. If you do dispatch a foe with a melee hit, there will be a short slow-mo sequence in which you can snatch the cargo they drop with a grip button. If you do grab this piece of cargo and aren't worried about its contents, you can then wield it against or even throw it at remaining foes by pressing attack and releasing your grip. With Director's Cut, 3 more mobile melee moves were added. First is the body slam, done by jumping and pressing crouch. Second is the knee strike, which is performed by pressing attack while jumping. Then there's the ever so satisfying drop kick, which you can do by sprinting, jumping, then pressing attack. The first non-lethal gun you gain in vanilla is the bola gun. On impact, it wraps up the target, incapacitating them for a time. If fired at humans, aiming above the neck will cause an instant knockout. If they're hit below the neck, they may need to be kicked or stunned another way to prevent them from getting free and attacking again. A new non-lethal ranged weapon was added to Director's Cut in the form of the Mazer, a short-range electrical weapon that performs about as expected and is available quite a bit earlier than the bola gun. Shots to the head with the Mazer on human targets will knock them out immediately, while body shots may need some follow-up. The mission for the Mazer unlocks in the eastern region, sometime after reaching the distro center west of Capital Knot. The missions given will have more rewards than just the Mazer also, and send you to a brand new location to explore, the Ruined Factory. Each delivery point has something to offer if you build connection rating with them, which is indicated by the 5 stars as those deliveries are made. Along with this, more and more tools to help Sam with efficiency are unlocked as you make those successful deliveries, be it vehicles, active skeletons, weapons, backpack mods, portable constructors, etc. There are many pieces of equipment to unlock, but I want to draw particular attention to the active skeletons. After you find a prepper that does provide an active skeleton, upgrade its schematics as much as you can by bringing deliveries to this person, since active skeletons have consistent utility throughout the entire playthrough. Premium deliveries become available, I believe, after Order 24 and can be easily overlooked. If you do take these on, they'll come with extra requirements, like a timer or cargo damage maximum. Completing these within the requirement will raise your legend rank, depending on game difficulty, as well as grant increased likes when premium cargo makes it to its destination. That means more progress on those 5 stars too, and more stars means more equipment upgrades. One of the mechanics of Death Stranding that I don't think gets talked about enough is the rough and rocky terrain smoothing out and becoming dirt paths the more you and other players traverse it. So if you're taking one particular path and going back and forth between locations, that will smooth out and become an easier trip the more times you take it. Thanks to the asynchronous online nature of Death Stranding, other players, once that chiral network is established in the area, can contribute to the trailblazing as well, making everything, especially time-sensitive deliveries, a heck of a lot easier. Once you can gather them, chiral crystals are the ultimate maintenance resource. They weigh nothing and can be used on construction and repairs. Chiral crystals are also used to fuel floating carriers. There are several spots in the world that spawn chiral crystals in dense clusters. Take note when you do find them, since you can return later and gather more. The amount of chiral crystals you are carrying can be checked in the menu just below the map next to Sam and BB's stats. Used up items, like blood bags, still take up inventory space and can be dropped or thrown when they're empty either through the radial or cargo menu. If you feel like waiting to replenish them, the game will actually tell you from the fabricator menu how many used up items you're carrying, and automatically replace them if you choose to put them in your utility pouch, offloading your empties in one smooth motion. Resting in a safe house or distro center replenishes lost endurance, as well as gives a temporary 25% boost if you drink up to 3 energy drinks after. In the game, that is. Please don't drink 3 energy drinks in a row in real life. While you're out on a delivery, holding crouch lets Sam stop to rest, which is a way to both save the game and even recover some endurance with some sleep. On the topic of saving, if you're going for premium S-rank deliveries, be absolutely sure to save before you start moving to your destination. This is just to ensure that you have an easy spot to go back to in case something goes horribly wrong in transit, like taking a hill too fast. Your cargo can be left up to 800 meters away before it disappears. If you're making a side trip that happens to be a lot further than 800 meters, you can stash these other deliveries in a private locker at Bridges facilities, safe houses, or post boxes. Vehicles full of cargo can be stored in garages to both repair the vehicle, keep it for later use, and send the cargo directly to the private locker of that facility. If you need to leave your empty vehicle somewhere too, it'll stay put unless you continuously bring out new vehicles from the garage. The reverse trike is the first vehicle available in Death Stranding. It's quick, sometimes can help carry more cargo, and is easy enough to maneuver. At the start though, you'll be facing lots of rough terrain on the East Coast. To make it easier, simply hold back on your direction control to do a wheelie, and you'll have a surprisingly easier time. Don't forget that if you get stuck too, all vehicles do have a jump function, but be aware that jumping vehicles also burns a lot more battery life. It took me several playthroughs of Death Stranding just to figure this out, but you can check your vehicle durability from your map the same way you would check durability in structures, just by hovering over it, and you don't even have to get out of the vehicle to check. Vehicles can be repaired by resting or garage storage in player-made shelters, cities, or distribution centers, provided the vehicle is on the platform. For a quicker repair method, I learned that if you are loading up at a city or distro center and the vehicle is yours rather than another player's, you can change its color scheme and it will be automatically repaired without needing to rest. Once floating carriers are available, you should always bring one. They can make every trek easier by keeping your cargo stable and allowing Sam more personal mobility. Carriers can also be ridden too, and will accelerate down hills. Provided you don't collide with large rocks, the bottom of the hill can be reached quickly this way. Bear in mind that carriers still do spend chiral crystals to operate. Trucks are amazing for deliveries and take some time to unlock unless you're willing to steal one from the mules of the central region. While not as advantageous as a Bridges vehicle, with its inability to repair, low battery, and lack of cover for the truck bed, mule trucks can still help you move large amounts of materials around quickly for road construction as early as you're willing to do it. The lights on the back of Bridges trucks indicate how full they are. Trucks can carry a maximum amount of 28 XL pieces of cargo or equivalent, while the weight of said cargo appears to affect battery consumption. If a truck is completely maxed out, indicated by the lights on the back turning red, Sam won't be able to get into the driver's seat with any extra cargo on him aside from the equipped gear and the items stored in his pouches. When going uphill, boosting trucks in any direction besides straight up the hill is a great way to lose control. As soon as those wheels come off the ground, it'll jerk a direction you don't want it to go when it lands, and most likely go sideways. If you want to get a truck up steep inclines, it is possible, but using boosts sparingly will reduce overall chances of getting stuck in that sideways position. One of my favorite things in Death Stranding is the storage management, because storage between multiple vehicles and carriers can all be accessed if they're close enough to each other, letting you seamlessly transfer cargo from one transport to another. If you have one completely damaged vehicle and you find a nice shiny one, you can just park next to it and move everything over to the other truck. Or if you have a short walk from your truck to your delivery point, you can drop that carrier, access it, and move the cargo you need from the truck to the carrier, no problem. Death Stranding is a game all about connecting, and to help encourage this, it is an asynchronous multiplayer game. This means that you can still play as the main character, but structures, lost cargo, and equipment can be shared across other players' worlds. The shared locker at each connected facility stores player-donated goods and undelivered cargo. Even if you don't have anything to donate or a use for the items in the shared locker, you can offload them all and recycle them if you're in need of resources at that location. Since there is a resource limit at each location, the game will let you know if recycling will pass that limit too. Each delivery point only has so much storage for raw materials as mentioned previously, but each of them also seem to have unlimited private locker storage. If you've hit the resource cap and want to hoard more, you can do so by claiming bulk materials, then storing them in the private locker for later. This way, the facility's materials will continue to rack up over time, and you'll have a surplus for mass construction later ready to go. You can request help with upgrades from other players, and once you're able to use this feature, it's a great way to share structures to other worlds too. According to the tips section, simply marking a structure to request upgrades will be more likely shared than others. If you find yourself in a dead zone of the chiral network, that means you have a delivery client to find. Sometimes these preppers are well hidden, but finding them will more often than not yield some decent benefits, either with schematics, tools, or resources that you can't get anywhere else. I know for some of you, I've been Captain Obvious for a lot of things up until this point, but I will also say that roads are pretty helpful, and they make a beautiful alternative for hoofing over rough terrain. Roads are especially helpful if you intend on delivering bulk orders with a truck. Outside the obvious of being a smooth, easy to traverse path, roadways made with auto pavers also keep vehicles from losing charge if they're touching the center strip. For something so helpful, they also come with the steepest material costs. When you set out to pave some roads via an auto paver, keep in mind that you can see exactly how many resources it needs by going to your map and hovering over its icon. This can be done with any player-built structures too. The amount required for the auto pavers vary depending on the wacky path that they follow. Keep an eye out for clients that give you the valuable low weight or high density materials as rewards. They'll be a gold mine for anything related to building, especially when it comes to roads. Player structures, yours included, do decay over time. Structures can be dismantled from the map, both your own and others from online players that might be in your way or useless to you. If you've been playing a long time and structures from other players are too damaged to function, simply removing them will cause brand new ones to appear in the area sometime after. If you wish for your structures to stick around, you will need to eventually go back and do some maintenance and repair. Previously, I did mention how awesome chiral crystals are. They can be used in most repairs and don't weigh you down at all. In most cases though, it is still more cost effective to simply upgrade the structure in question, especially if you want them to stay there anyway. Generally, when you upgrade a PCC structure, it'll become much more durable and have increased functionality. A reminder too, roads are not excluded in this, so if you do start seeing auto paver icons on your maps with yellow triangles, that's because they have a sign of heavy erosion and should be repaired soon. You may have seen some bridges seemingly placed at random. This placement might still be deliberate. Bridges can be used to bypass BTs by walking over them at times, but they can also serve as cover for vehicles near areas that experience heavy timefall. Since there's danger as well as lost cargo in these BT-infested areas, the temptation to stick around might be high. It's nice not worrying about your vehicle rusting out completely while you're exploring the area. 240 chemicals and 480 special alloys are needed to upgrade ziplines. The only reason I'm mentioning ziplines and not anything else is that level 2 ziplines get 50 more meters of distance when they're upgraded to level 2, totaling 350 meters. Being they cost 500 chiral bandwidth each, you'll want all the distance you can get out of them. And a special benefit to Director's Cut, you can also now take ziplines, carriers still attached, and not have to offload the carrier and go by yourself. there's a lot to Death Stranding. So I open the floor to you. If you have any tips or suggestions or anything like that, please leave them in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, entertaining, or both, please do whatever it is you see fit to show that. Among things you can is by supporting on Patreon, like the amazing Wasteland Legends, Sven, and David Hoover, as well as the rest of the patrons on screen now. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Kato Genesis, and well, keep on keeping on.